Alright, welcome back, guys. Last video I made, I was going to start tearing into the Sunny, and I just couldn't do it. Still pissed off about the whole situation. I've acquired more parts for it, but just as of right now, I can't do it. I started, and every time I was working on it, I had to force myself, and I don't want to start a build out like that. I don't want to feel like I have to do it. I want to enjoy building it. Otherwise, it's just going to ruin the whole build for me. So I parked it back in the garage, and that's where it's going to stay for right now. But so I started working on the 810 again. I've never really done an introduction into this thing. I just kind of showed bits and pieces here and there. This is a 78 Datsun 810. It's basically a luxury four-door Z car. Z car in disguise. Straight six. It's got an L24 in it. 4-speed, independent rear suspension. Pretty rare car. They did make a two-door version for like 1 year. I'm periodically looking for one. I would like to have one. But, I mean, this thing's pretty cool, just even as it is. No one really knows about these things. And brand new, they were like $8 grand. I mean, a new Cadillac wasn't much more than that, you know. So they weren't a high seller. But when I got this thing, it was a complete roach. It had been sitting in a field for 25 years, I believe. And it was someone's kind of bushwhack car. Go out in the field, beat the piss out of it. And dude I know saved it. And then I acquired it a couple years later. And kind of just went for it. It was going to be my drift missile. And then I kept adding money. And then I acquired the flares. And I started putting this thing together. And it was like, you know what? This is the closest thing I could ever build to a Kaido Racer. I've always enjoyed the culture, the styling of the cars. And never honestly thought I would have the ability to get something that I could make into one, a proper one. And once I got the flares on it, kind of started getting shit together, I noticed that, like, man, this is my one and only chance. So I went for it, and I recently acquired the SSRs, 13s, very tiny little wheel. Dropped the car about another 1.5 inches, even with the bulkier tires. But really like them, really changed the look of the car. I just had knockoff Devil Shadows or 15x9s, just didn't fit the style. If they were smaller, I probably would have kept them, but let's see. They're not a bad wheel. They're just reps and too big, you know. But yeah, a lot of work. Originally a fuel injection car. When I got it, all the fuel injection was trash, so I converted it over. This thing's really dirty right now. It's just been sitting. Over to carbureted, so it's dual Weber 3236s. It was an interesting install. I had a bunch of people tell me my carb setup will never work, my brake setup will never work. You can't buy a header that'll bolt on these cars. And I mean, right here proves it. This is a running driving car with the carb setup, with the brake setup, with a header. Literally a header. I just looking online, I found one on offer up. Paid $100 for it. It was like, there's no way this can't work. Came home, bolted right on. So now I basically gave the ability to people that have these cars a header option. Whereas before, there was no option. I gotta clean this thing up. But, so, another cool aspect to it. It's a lot of the Kaido Racers are all carbureted. I'd really love to have some side drafts, but, I mean, this is better. Better than what I had, for sure. And the interior is kind of something I didn't quite follow the lines on. A lot of people either have crushed velvet, or they have fur, or all sorts of different setups you can run. I went kind of in between. I did fur and black crushed velvet. So I remade all my door panels, recovered all my seats, as you can see, fur on top, crushed velvet. I said redid all the interior myself. You can't really tell, but the headliner is all fur, the dash is all fur. I split it across the whole car. Same thing with my center console, and seats are fur. It's interesting. I enjoy it. A lot of other people enjoy it. A lot of other people hate it. It's just, a lot of people don't know about the style. The people that do know about the style of car appreciate it. The ones that don't, absolutely hate it. And I'm trying to get this back to the same car show I pretty much slammed this thing together for. And I'm trying to do some different things with it. I did my taillights in the mesh, which I've seen a decent amount of times done on the cars, and it wasn't the cheapest. I mean, the 2x3 sheets, like $50, and I just went through it, cut it out, and sent it on its way, you know. And I did the same thing with the front turn signals. I think it looks better. Kind of adds something to the car itself. Not so plain, and just kind of furthering myself in that style. I have door numbers and hood numbers coming. I'm going to try to get my exhaust done before the show, but I don't know if it's actually going to happen. Yeah, here's a brief introduction of the car. And when I go to the car show, I'll take a pretty decent video. It's nothing but old school Japanese cars and European cars. It's probably one of the more cooler shows that are in Washington for this style of, you know, there's a lot of cool American shows and split, you know, different things, but for this show, what it is, it's actually really cool. So stay tuned, and there will be more.